Hey traders, welcome to the weekly outlook for the upcoming week, which is from the 25th to the 29th of April. Right, so before I get started, I just want to say that from now onwards, I'll be making weekly YouTube videos on the outlook and the recap of the current week and the upcoming week, the next week. So I hope that this will help the people watching this YouTube channel learn more about the way I trade and how potentially new incoming traders from crypto or from stocks or from wherever you are, to potentially learn this way of making money from the markets, right? So a bit of a background of what I trade. I trade supply and demand, and institutional order flow, on the lower time frame, especially the 1 minute, 3 minute, and 5 minutes. So I'm a scalper, right? I trade mostly the New York session, right? So from 8 to 10 p.m. Um, SG time. I'm because I'm from Singapore, right? So uh, let's not keep you guys waiting and let's just get started on the weekly recap. On the weekly outlook. Sorry, right? So, for on the DXY, we do see that price on the weekly has been going bullish ever since we have rejected off this level of supply, right? So this is your weekly supply zone, right? And this weekly supply zone has failed to break lower, and as you can see, we have created, right, uh, a higher, a break structure here, right? A break structure and respected the low again and created the higher time frame structure that we would like to see. Let me show you guys by using a path, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and it keeps respecting structure, right? So what I would like to see is perhaps maybe a pullback, in the next 1 or 2 weeks before potentially taking out this high, this high, and perhaps even this high, right? So, given that the market has been bullish, like on the higher time frame, right, these two high I see as potential price targets for us to capitalize on, right? So on the daily, we can see that price has essentially, let me just delete this, right, for the sake of clarity, right? Price has continued to push higher, right? Price has continued to push higher into the potential area of rejection, right? We have a we have a supply zone on the daily, right? So sorry, this is actually a demand zone. I messed up, right? So this is a demand zone, and this is a supply zone. Sorry. So, anyways, as you can see, the outlook for the next week, I expect, would be a slight pullback before moving upwards, or we could see obviously a continual push upwards depending on the news next week, right? So I'm not really a news trader, but essentially I just follow price action as what it tells me because I believe that news is priced in. So just based on this, we can see that we have clearly respected the demand zone and we have pushed up, and potentially if this order block, this tab really has captured a lot of the sell or of the buy orders, right? We could see price push up into the demand zone and potentially break it, right? So just based on the 4 hours, we can see that where is a potential area to retest. We can see this whole area here is a 4 hour demand zone, right? But obviously we can refine it to this candle because this is where this is where we have the final sell to buy that caused this massive push up as well as create a lot of inefficiencies, right? So from here, um, we could potentially see a pullback into these areas, maybe here or here, right? So these are the two areas I'll be looking for. If you look on the 15 minutes, yes, these are areas that we could potentially be looking for buys on the DXY, right? So if the DXY is going to be pulling back, right? We could see a price coming back into this area or lower, right? The reason why I wouldn't use this as a POI because this is a POI that didn't really mitigate properly any sort of order block in the sense where the inefficiency here hasn't been filled properly, so this could be used as a area of inducement, right? So I'll be waiting for this area or this area to tap before going long, or we could just short our way down into these areas. Um, so that is that for the DXY. Okay, so let's look at the euro dollar, right? So on the euro dollar, we do see that we are definitely bearish, right? From this level here. From this level, we have a supply zone, and we have continued melted to melt since then, right? So on the day itself, we can see that bearish momentum has still carried on, right? Even though we have swept the highs, right? I wouldn't see this as a real break of structure. I would see this as a false break of structure and potentially even a liquidation, so a liquidity grab in a sense, right? So some people may call it liquidity grab, some people may call it absorption, right, of orders to push price even lower, right? And I'm potentially looking for this low to break and uh, last but not least, even the weekly lows to break, right? So this is the main target around 1.6359, right? So on the daily we are definitely bearish already. So let's go on the 4 hours and take a look at what we can um, look for in terms of price action, right? So I do see here that we have respected this area here, this supply zone, and we have created a buy to sell and another buy to sell, right? So um, from the way I trade, wicks as well are considered a area of supply zone. So I could be potentially looking to sell from here. I'm waiting for price to retrace into this area, perhaps maybe um, on Monday to retrace into these areas to look for potential sells, right? So on the 4 hour, we have highlighted this area. We could potentially even refine it to this area because of the inefficiencies, right? So where else could we see a sell off from if price should decide to not reach this area and drop off, right? Another potential area could be from here, right? Essentially from this area. So if I were to go on the 5 minutes, you can see that yep, we have this 5 minute order block, right? That could hold and push us lower, right? And as we can see here, we have created a ton of liquidity, right? Waiting to be swept lower. This is sell side liquidity waiting to be swept lower. So potentially tap into here or here to go lower. So essentially what I'm looking for is a movement like this, right? Either create and tap into the order block and then break structure lower, waiting for the retest short lower, or if in this case this doesn't happen, right, we could see price come up into these areas and then do the same thing, break of structure, come up, lower to break the lows, right? So this is essentially what I'm looking for on the euro dollar, right? Let's look at the pound dollar, right? So the pound dollar, let's go on the daily. Oh my god, okay. We can we can see for sure that we are bearish on the euro dollar, on the pound dollar because perhaps let's start from the weekly. We can see that we have again rejected off another weekly supply um from here, right? We've rejected all this weekly supply, and from here we have plus we continuously been bearish, and now we are attempting to break this low, right? So let's see what we can look at on the 4 hour, right? On the 4 hour, we are just majorly bearish, right? No sense of no sense of any buying pressure whatsoever at this point of time, right? So we have the 4 hour order block here, right? But at the same time, should price continue to drop, I honestly feel that this area could get tapped, or even liquidity grabbed above this high to go lower. So what do I mean by that, right? So I'm essentially waiting for price. Let's go on the 15 minutes to come up into this area, right? Come into this area. Let me draw it out for you guys. Price to come maybe lower and then come up into this area, right? But potentially even break this for a little bit, gain a bit of liquidity which has been stacked up over here, right? Liquidity area, and then we see a breakdown to target the major lows, right? So again, breaks of structure, breaks of structure, breaks of structure, right? So I'm waiting for this area to potentially react to go lower on GU at least, right? So if you want to draw out the main POIs I'll be looking at, should it not create a liquidity area, this will be an area. First, this is the most extreme area actually. If not, I'll be looking at a very clean one here, right? On the 50 minutes. So if I were to zoom in, you can see that these are the order blocks that has not been mitigated, and everything else here has created some sort of liquidity to be cleared, right? This is liquidity, right? We have another liquidity area here, right? Should this high be not broken, right? So all this can be swept and come into the potential extreme, which also has inefficiencies, right? To be filled. So again, sells are most likely, but higher time frame, the lower time frame counter trend will be in play. Should price consider to should price continue to fall lower, right? So let's look at our last pair. We have gold, right? On gold, let's look at the daily, right? So it seems like I've already done a markup for this, but let's look again, right? Essentially, I'm looking for buys on gold, right? Why am I looking for buys on gold? Because very simple, price has already shown its hand, right? We have a buy to sell, a sell to buy, right? And then we have dropped down lower, come up again, created a liquidity grab area here, right? And then pushed up higher. So what are we looking for now? A retracement to come out even higher, right? And right now we are in this area of a demand zone, daily order block essentially. And what I'm expecting is for buys to start from here to come up even higher to potentially clear all-time highs, right? So let's go on the 15 minute since we are already so close towards the area, right? So let's clear the drawing, move the drawing, right? So based on the 15 minutes, we can see that price has decided to break lower here. So if we to zoom towards our right, we can see that there could be an area, or okay, maybe let's go to the 4 hours first. We could see that we are in this area of an order block, right? That hasn't been mitigated, and we have just stepped it, right? So could price come down to the 50% of this to potentially come higher? Yes, very likely, because based on the 15-minute structure, we are still bearish, right? We broke the high and then we broke its own low. So the 50% of this level could be tapped, right? Around 1923, around there, 1923, to potentially again come up higher, right? Because the higher time frame narrative is longs. And again, what I like to advocate to my students is that price, even though when it comes down into your order block, don't just take a buy blindly, right? That's a considered as a risk entry. I often, more often than not, take um, confirmation entries. And what does that mean? I'm waiting for price to break structure towards the upside, and then take the retracement or and the retest of the order block to come higher. Because this first break of structure towards the upside reveals to me that price has bullish intentions on the lower time frame, and because price is fractal, meaning that um, the higher time frame has priority over the lower time frame. This tells me that the lower time frame is now aligned with the higher time frame. And when these two are aligned, right? When these two are aligned, you can have this happening, right? So if you actually reach the higher time frame, lower time frame, right? Sorry, I need to shift my screen, right? So this is essentially what is happening. But when this happens, right, a break of structure, right, and then we have a retest and then we go up, right? So when this happens, your higher time frame aligns with a low time frame and therefore can in the previous highs, which is what I'm doing for gold. Right? I'm aiming the previous highs, which is around 2080. 80, right? Let's go. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this week's outlook for the next week, right? If you do have any other pairs that you would like me to review, please comment down below. As well as if you feel like there's things that I can improve because this is my first time. I definitely have things to improve, right? So please let me know down in the comment sections below again, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right. See you next week. Bye.